Right, well, good evening, everyone. Nice to have you all on board, and welcome to the Vox Telepreneur webinar. As you're no doubt aware, this evening we're going to be discussing the new rates and what the new interconnects that come into play from the 1st of March and what that's going to mean to not only you, the dealer, but also to your customers, and how this is going to affect the industry. We must say that when all of this came about and started off in March last year, we were the first to jump the gun. We changed our rates in December of 2009, so we were about 2 months ahead of the game. And it's wonderful to see what a little bit of competition and normal free and fair enterprise allows the market to do to itself, become self-regulating, start changing, start reducing prices for the first time. And as I say, we're delighted with the way it's going. Obviously, I think in a deflationary market, when the prices are coming down, obviously what we tend to find is the volume start increasing quite rapidly. So I think just to kick off tonight, we're going to go through where we've come from, where we are at the moment, what this means in terms of what you're going to get and what your customers going to get, and how that all comes together, I think, for the good of the telecoms industry in South Africa. I'd also like to welcome with us this evening Mr. Brad Gatter. As you know, Brad heads up the Vox Telepreneur division within the Vox Telecom group. So Brad is with us tonight, and we're looking forward to make this a very open forum to be able to have a look and see who's asking questions, answer those wherever possible. So please, as I say, if it's your first time visiting, you are able to raise your hand. You can just click on that icon, and we can see that next to your name, in which case we'll either come to you directly and I'll ask you to try and verbalize that if you have got a mic, or else, if not, just type in the question into the little box that you should see on the right-hand side. There's a question box there. Type in the question and we'll try and answer it during the course of the webinar. Anyway, let's kick straight on into it. If we have a look at where we've come from, as I say, within the industry and the story so far, this time last year in February 2010, we were talking about symmetrical interconnect rates, and pretty much asymmetrical means it's equal. So what that meant for us in February last year, when we were delivering a call to Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, we had to physically pay them R1.25 for the pleasure of them delivering the call to their customers. And similarly with Telkom, we had to pay them 40 cents. The converse of that was also true, so that anybody phoning in on our network was having to pay us R1.25, and with Telkom 40 cents. On March the 1st, as I say, that changed. And I think this changed because, as you're no doubt aware, there was representation back in 2009 that we attended in Parliament. And I think, as most of you will know, if you've attended any of our previous sales training and courses, we were strong advocates of R1.25 was obscene. And the reason why we brought about, for the first time in the industry, rebates was purely because we felt it was absolutely obscene for us to be taking this amount of money for literally doing very little. And that's why we used to share it with not only the dealers, but also with the customers. And as I say, to this day, we're still the only telco that is sharing that revenue that we get from that as interconnects with all of our customers. But anyway, in March 2010, things changed for the better. For the first time, that interconnect had to come down. ICASA had regulated it, and that dropped down to 89 cents for Cell, and Telkom remained at that 40 cents. We still kept giving what we had been giving in the past, and pretty much that was we were giving the customer back 40 cents rebates. We still continue to do that into 2010. Although the amount had come down from R1.25, we were still giving the customers back 40 cents, and we were giving you, the dealer, 40 cents in the pot. If we have a look at what you were being charged as a consumer in February last year, with Telkom you were paying R1.89. When the new interconnect came into play, you were paying R1.89, sorry, with Telkom phoning to Cell or mobile, and they dropped that down to R1.49. We were proactive, as I mentioned, and we did this in December the year before already, and we moved our rate down from where it was at R1.47 down to R1.09. So still a very substantial saving compared to what you were getting with the incumbent. And as I mentioned, We kept that rebate of 40 cents to the customer on sell, 20 cents if it was coming from Telkom, and shared what was left with you, the dealer, in the typical commission structure. So whatever was left, you were able to earn anything from 24 to 43% on your customers. So what has transpired since then? Well, in March 2011, the interconnect rates are coming down once again. And you may or may not know, this is a gradual glide path down to 2013, when the rates are going to be constant at, I think it's 12 cents across the board. So this is something that's been implemented. Although Castle wanted to do it immediately, there was representation by, as you can imagine, Vodacom, MTN, etc., that it would really muck up their markets. So the glide path has been put in to try and smooth out this transition. But what is quite ironic is that even though last year those interconnect rates came down, and ourselves as Vox Telepreneur changed our rates, in other words, the retail rate that the consumer was paying. I don't know if any of you have had a look and seen what's happened with Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, etc., etc. Not much has really changed as far as their retail price. So they might not be paying as much on interconnects, but they haven't changed their tariff to the consumer. I know for a fact that I'm on a Vodacom Talk 500 on my cell phone. I pay 800 Rand and I get 500 minutes. That works out to be R1.40 a minute. That has been like that for the last 5 years. So nothing has changed for me as a consumer with the cellular companies. However, with us, and we have now been classified as a fixed line operator, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. But if you have a look at where we were a year ago, or where the consumer was a year ago, paying R1.89 to dial a cell number from a Telkom line, to where we are now, we're now charging 96 cents per minute. So pretty much that is what the power of free enterprise has done. It's reduced the rates that consumers were paying, and some of them are still paying quite a large whack, especially with Telkom. But what we are offering is almost a 50% discount compared to what your only choice was a few years ago. Suddenly there is choice in the market. And as I say, we're very proud that we've managed to bring these rates down. And to a large part, it's a big thanks to you, the dealers, for getting this out into the market, for creating that competitive environment that allows free enterprise, as I say, to actually thrive and grow. And we're very excited, as I say. We're still waiting to hear officially from Telkom, but we believe it's still going to be staying at R1.47. We haven't heard any different. They may only change in August. So for the time being, the rate that they're going to be charging is R1.47. What we're charging, 96 cents. I think you can all do the maths. There's a serious savings of 51 cents if we're looking at that per call. So there's some monstrous savings to be had with this new reduction in the interconnect rate. The bad side of it, and I say this with tongue-in-cheek because we don't think it's really all bad, the interconnects were never going to be there for long, is that the rebates that we're receiving now as Vox Telepreneur has come down to 28 cents. It's now an asymmetrical interconnect rate. So where it was a year ago that we were receiving 89 cents and having to pay 89 cents, this time round we're having to pay 73 cents to connect to mobile networks, but if anybody is connecting to us, we will only be receiving 28 cents. So the rebates that we're going to be able to offer the customer are or have been shrunk quite radically, especially from Cell, where we were offering 40. We're now only going to be able to offer pretty much half of that, about 15 cents, and I'll explain that as we go through. So this is something to bear in mind. What we're gaining on the swings, we're losing on the roundabouts, but we'll have an example a little bit later on, and I think we'll be able to show you ultimately for the consumer, we think it's certainly a move in the right direction. So let's just have a look at comparing the old to new and what that actually means. As I say, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we've got up on the screen. Last year we were having to pay R1.09 to Vodacom, MTN and Cell C. From the 1st of March this year, our rates have come down to 96 for both Vodacom and MTN. However, Cell C and ATA are allowed to charge an additional revenue. They are not classified as being part of the big two. and ICASA have allowed them to have on, I think it's 20 and 30% respectively, onto the interconnect rate that they're allowed to charge. There's not much we can do about it. It is what it is. But if we have a look at the statistics that we've gathered, pretty much 3% of all of our calls are either going to Vodacom or MTN across our network. So although the rate has changed slightly with Cell C and ATA, it literally hasn't got anything to do with us. That is the interconnect rate that Cell C and ATA are allowed to charge. They're allowed to charge more than that 73 cents. They're allowed to up it quite a bit. On the local and national front, nothing has changed with us. We've always subsidized these two destinations. As most of you know, it actually cost us 43 cents to deliver it to Telkom. That had been the case in the past. It has now come down to 34 cents. With that, nothing really has changed. So we haven't been able to change that local and national rate. But as I say, by the same token, we're still giving you the same GP as dealers to make the profit on those. So once again, the really big movers and shakers here is the reduction in our rates to what we've been offering to the cell. And when we consider pretty much now more than 50% of all traffic going out from a typical phone is going to a cellular network, then the savings are in the largest percentage of the outbound routes, and that's to the cellular market. On the rebate side, if we have a look what was happening, and here you can see there's quite a substantial difference. We were receiving rebates of 89 cents from Cell and 40 cents from Telkom. We were then giving the customers 40 cents from Cell and 20 cents from Telkom. We were giving, we were giving the dealers 49 cents worth of commissionable value. And sorry, this should be 20 cents here, not 40 cents. Let me go back. Sorry, mistake. Sorry, that's a mistake here. This should be 20 cents. From the 1st of March, however, everything is one rate. Whether it's coming from Cell or from Telkom, we're only going to be receiving 28 cents. Nothing we can do about it. We did take it under opinion with lawyers. We went and had a chat to council to say, is it worth us fighting this? They said, yes, you can, but the chances are you're going to wind up in court for a long time, and the chances of you actually ever winning it could take forever and a day. So we decided to bite the bullet. There's not much we can do about it. So there's going to be a bit of a reduction in the customer rebates, not too much from the Telkom side, but definitely, as I say, on the cellular side. On the dealer side, your CV values, yes, that will have shrunk quite a bit. However, typically what we've experienced within the business is only 10% of your revenue has been from inbound minutes. So the other 90% of where you're making money is still there, and because of these rates, we believe that's going to increase quite substantially in the weeks and months to come. If you just bear with me 1 second, I just want to try and get back. I've lost my icon. Thank you. I just wanted to get that back together. So that's the reality. Not too much we can do about it. It is what it is. I'm just going to have a quick squiz through and see if anyone of you have got any questions at the moment. I see Jaco's got his hand raised. Jaco, I'm going to open up your mic. Let's see if you're there, and if you wish, give us a question.
Can you hear me there, Mike?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, now I just want to ask, this presentation that you are showing now, if you can maybe get it for training purposes.
Sorry, if we could maybe?
Get the slideshow of yours for training purposes. Can we use this for training?
Certainly. Jaco, what we're going to be doing, I don't know if you've noticed that we've got another webinar coming up on Tuesday. Brad and I will also be hosting that. We're going to be launching our new Vox Telepreneur website. And on there, we're going to hopefully make it far more interactive with a lot more YouTube video clips, training sessions. We are recording this particular session this evening. We will put that up on the website, but you're more than welcome as well to have a copy of the PowerPoint if you require it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just checking through to see if there are any more hands raised or any more questions. Gosh, We've got an intelligent bunch of dealers with us this evening. Nice to see. We've got about 30 of you on board this evening, so as I say, it's nice to see it. Donnie De Beer, I see there's a question here. Is there a place to download the previous webinars? Donnie, the biggest problem I think we've had is we've forgotten to record most of these. So going forward, we'll definitely make sure we do record all of these and keep them up on the site. But most of the webinar PowerPoints are available, and we can certainly make those available to you. Okay, just moving on. I think what I'd like to share with you today is, what does this really mean as far as savings as a customer is concerned? And it's very hard, as I say, everybody is different as to what their calling patterns are like, who they're calling, whether it's local, national, cell, etc., etc. As most of you should know, we have got a savings calculator up on the website. And what I just wanted to share with you this evening is, I'm just using an example of 1,000 Rand because it just makes the numbers a little bit real. If we put in 100 Rand, we're getting down to fractions. But I think obviously you can percentagize this out if someone's got a bill of 400 Rand or 300 Rand or 2,000 Rand. So what we've done is, if we've taken someone who had an existing spend with Telkom, and that's as it currently stands today, then with Vox, the savings that we would be showing them is what you can see here in the left-hand column. Sorry, that's what their makeup of their bill with Telkom would be in the left-hand column. If you know the actual amounts, and you can easily get that from a Telkom bill, what they're actually spending and where they're spending it, you can physically put in all of these amounts, and that will give you a very accurate representation of how much we would be able to save them. If you don't know, we just put in a figure at the top, and we work out the percentages according to the national average. And as I was saying to you, approximately 50% of it goes to sell, 29% is local, 17% is national, 5% is special services numbers, etc., etc. So that's what we've done with this particular example. We're saying, if you were a typical consumer, 1,000 Rand, your makeup or your breakdown of how that was spent would be as is with Telkom, and if you brought that across to Vox, your savings would be as you see them on the right-hand side. So I think it's pretty easy to see, just from an outbound perspective, if you were spending 1,000 Rand with us, you should be spending about 760, so you're saving about 24% on your outbound savings. I'm just going to accelerate through to what it will be like going forward from the 1st of March. So using those same ratios, if you were spending 1,000 Rand as a customer, obviously it will still be the same, because we've heard no different from Telkom that it's going to be any different. But with us now, instead of it costing you 764 Rand, it's now going to have come down to about 720 Rand. So once again, that savings that we're making on that cellular side of it makes quite a substantial saving. So as you can see, where we were saving about 24% on your outbound, we're up to very close to 30% saving on your outbound with the new rates being applicable. If we factor in the rebates, and I'll go back to the previous one to give you an idea, on the old system, the rebates, if you were receiving 5 minutes a day from both cellular and Telkom, you used to be saving about 60 Rand a day, to give you a total saving that you would have made of about 378 Rand. I'm sorry, 374 Rand. On the new rates, although the reduction in the rebates has come down quite substantially, and where you were saving 60 Rand, let's say, we're now going to be saving 25. As a whole, your savings is still up there, as you can see, at about 37%. In other words, on 1,000 Rand, you'd be saving about 378 Rand. So we still believe this to be a very, very cost-effective way to manage your business. And Brad and I were discussing it, I think, yesterday, that if you have a look, what other industry in the last 3 years can honestly say they haven't pushed up the price of any of their products, they've only brought them down. We're, as I say, in a deflationary environment. Petrol is going up. I see today it hit over $110 an ounce once again. But I think we're very fortunate that we're in a position where we're selling savings as dealers. We can honestly go out into the market and say, guys, here is what we're looking at. These are the type of savings that we can offer you with the solutions that we have for you. I think if Brad would like to step in and maybe give a little bit of his side as to our thoughts about the Interconnect and how excited we are about it and what we think it's going to mean for increasing the number of minutes that we're going to be getting coming into the business.
Yeah, how's it, everyone? Always good to have so many people, dealers like you, as I've said it many times, and as Mark said it, it's just guys who build the business. It's because of you, and I'm not giving you a sales talk here or anything like that, or trying to suck up to anybody. We speak quite honestly at Vox, and especially Vox Telepreneur. But I think, yeah, while Mark's chatting here, there's so many things that have been going through our heads. It's been such a busy 2011 already, and if you guys would have seen, some of you, the dealer update that came out today, you can see there's quite a bit of work that's been going on. So we might have been a little bit silent over the last couple of months, although there are a couple of you here that we can see that we chat to regularly. But I think, yeah, if I go backwards on what Mark's just said is exactly that. Mark and I were sitting and chatting the other day, and we were saying how if you take a look at Vox Telepreneur over the last 3 years, it's actually our 3rd year anniversary. And if you take a look at it, we've never, ever increased the price in 3 years. We've only brought prices down. More prices are going to come down. You'll see that revealed. If you read the dealer update, you're going to see it on Tuesday again. And we really, this is all about what the Vox community is about. It's all about, giving savings. It's about giving people, particularly the dealers, an opportunity to be involved, etc. But yeah, I just find it quite fascinating. I don't know how many of you, if you take a look at what you were paying for bread 3 years ago or petrol 3 years ago, I'm trying to think of things that have really come down. Data prices we know have come down, but there's also a raising of prices. So I think I've hammered that point across quite a bit. But I think, yeah, as Mark was chatting, I was just making some summary points here. And I think one of the things that you've got to understand in terms of the rates coming down in the interconnect, and this is something quite difficult for people who are not involved in the business. And I challenge you guys, next time you're sitting with a group of friends, and I think I've said it to you all before, if you're sitting around a bar one day or you're sitting around a dinner table, and not necessarily to talk shop with your mates, but basically to turn around and say to guys, how much do you pay? How much of your prices come down, whether it be telecom, cellular, whatever it might be? Guys will tell you, yeah, I'm paying 19 Rand a gig here and 25 Rand a gig there, etc. But let's talk about voice. And I think what I'm trying to get across to you guys is just because the interconnect rate has come down does not necessarily mean that the retail rate comes down for other providers. Whereas with Vox, as many of you know, and I've jotted it down here and I'm going to give you the figures, but as many of you know, in December of 2009 it was, on the 26th of December was our new billing period. We introduced new retail rates about 3 months before the interconnect rate was legislated to come down. We took quite a bit of a hiding on revenue, but we decided we wanted to shake this market up a bit, which we definitely did. And just to give you an indication of that, and listen carefully here, and if you've got any notes to write down, I'm going to reiterate what Mark said. In December 2009, okay, or let's say before December 2009 and in December 2009, if you wanted to call a cellular phone or a mobile phone from Telkom, that cost R1.89, okay? At that stage of the game, Vox Telepreneur was charging R1.49. On the 26th of December 2009, while Telkom was still R1.89, we dropped our rates from R1.49 to R1.09. When the interconnect came down, when was it, in August, Mark? Well, the interconnect came down in March, but when Telkom reduced their rates in, I think it was August of last year, their rates came down from R1.89 to R1.47. We were still at R1.09. We're now dropping our rates on Tuesday, particularly and most importantly to cellular, to 96 cents. This is absolutely massive. I'm not sure, and I haven't done all the research here, but I'm prepared to almost go out on a limb and say I'm not sure you can get a cheaper price to mobile in the country at the moment. But again, don't quote me. I'd like to do my research before I get sued by someone for saying that. So I think just very, very important to reiterate that to you guys of where we've come from. And again, sometimes we have a good laugh at Vox Telepreneur because we turn around and go, are we dropping prices again? Are we dropping rates again? And we always have a good giggle, but that's what it's about. We've always said, and we're going on another campaign, a refer a friend campaign, which will also benefit the dealers quite massively. We've always said, and I think dealers like you guys have turned around to us and said, How is it possible you give Vox to Vox free? Surely you want to create your own community. And then there'll be free calls. How are you going to worry about your infrastructure costs, etc., etc.? And we've always turned around and said, when we get to that day, we'll worry about it. But I think that's what it's all about. So I don't want to keep you guys for too much longer. I think we've got some questions coming through. But yeah, I just wanted to summarize the big points to you and wish you all the best again for 2011. We haven't chatted this year, but it's always good to have a good chat with you guys. And keep up to date with us. Please chat to us. We are hell of a busy, as I'm sure all of you guys are. But, we've got quite a standard rule at Telepreneur that we don't leave till we've answered our Blackberries, of which we're all on, and don't really know days and nights, but we're not here to tell you how hard we work. And I'm hoping you can see it in what we bring to you guys. So good luck. I'm hoping this will be good selling for you guys and definitely giving you a bigger punch in the market.
Thanks, Brad. We just have a question that's coming through that I'll just share with everyone from Nathan Collins. Where are we on the number portability? Nathan, on the number portability at the moment, I think for those of you who don't know, we were able to do it last year with large batches, with individual numbers. It was a total disaster with Telkom. What has transpired now, we have two types of number. We have geographic numbers and non-geographic numbers. Our non-geographic numbers are the numbers that we as Vox Telepreneur have been issuing since day dot, in other words, 087s. The irony of the whole situation is that anybody on a geographic number, the interconnect with it is not even 28 cents. The interconnect with a geographic number is down to 20 cents. So a lot of the rationale for changing it to be able to get your customers on board so you could get people phoning into a number which they knew and getting the rebates has almost fallen away, because the rebates on those geographic numbers, in other words 011s, 021s, 031s, is about 33% less than what we're currently getting. So it is still on the cards. It is a slow process, as most of you know, that took a disaster from our Chief Technical Officer, Murray Stain, and he still hasn't been able to get it right. So at the moment, let's just call that it's been left in abeyance. I think what I'd also like to share with you is it's nice to see so many of you guys coming on board. We're really trying to rev up the dealer channel once again this year. We believe we've got something to offer that's pretty extraordinary. A lot of you may have seen the dealer mail that we sent out today. There's some very exciting products that we're about to release. We're going to be holding a webinar on Tuesday, Brad and myself, to go through it. Please read your dealer mails. I don't want to get into too much detail in this forum about it tonight. But I think it's something well worthwhile logging on for. As I said, it's going to be the release of or the launch of the new website. So we're anticipating a few teething troubles. However, we're also going to be announcing the release of a number of new products, which I think for you guys are going to be something special. We're putting some serious CV values to line rentals now for you, whereas in the past there was no money, and believe it or not, it's a complete loss leader. We've decided to almost bite the bullet and make sure you guys will get rewarded if you're bringing people across onto ADSL. If you're doing the uncapped, there's some substantial money to be made from that. And obviously the net result being is that we're hoping to tie all of this back up into the product for the phone and for the super phone, so that we can get the customers the right product at the right price and they're able to take advantage of the minute. So we're almost using it as a loss leader, but not in a way that it's going to negatively affect you, the dealer. We're still making sure that you're going to be rewarded for getting those on, and even more so if they go over onto the phones. There's a couple of questions that are coming through that I'd just like to read out. Let's just have a look.